Have you ever heard of Occam's Razor before? Basically, it was created by this 14th century monk, and the what it generally breaks down to is that the simplest answer is usually the best one or the right one. And I was reminded of that this week when I was at church, and a friend came up to me and he was just like, "Hey, man, I just want to let you know our conversation that we had. I ended up saving like $2,300 because of that." And I was like, "Oh, really? Like was crazy." I mean, it was literally like a 5-minute conversation we had, maybe not even that long. We were just standing outside of the line waiting to get our kids from the playground, kind of a thing. And we were just talking about, I was like, "What did you do?" And he was like, "Basically all I do is, negotiate my insurance bill." And it just, I realized I hadn't done this in a long time. I went back. I had this policy forever. Signed up with a friend a long time ago. Don't really ever talk to him anymore or anything like that. And I think my parents had got me on this, and I just realized like I've been paying on it for years, and I've never, like checked around to see if I was getting a good rate or not. And basically it was really bad is what he was paying for. So the interesting thing about that got me thinking was a lot of times I think we want making or having more money to be more complicated. We want to think that getting rich and building wealth has to be this monumental thing requiring tons of effort. And it does. I mean, to a certain point, it absolutely does. But there are also aspects of building wealth that don't have to be. So let's not make things harder for ourselves than what they already are. And going back to the Occam's Razor thing, if the question that is on your mind is how do I have more money at the end of the day? Well, the simplest answer to that, the Occam's Razor aspect to this, is not what side hustle can I start? How can I go get a promotion? Do all the, like, those are complicated things that have external factors that are outside of your control, right? But something that is a lot more simple, that is just about totally within your control, is looking at your current expenses and saying, do I need all of this stuff? Is there anything that I can eliminate? Is there anything that I can substitute? If you're not familiar with the law of substitution, that's basically just saying that, you get something in the same category, but you buy a cheaper version of it. So a great example is instead of buying steaks all the time for dinner, we're going to downgrade to hamburgers. It's still beef, it's still categories, but one's a lot more cost effective. So I just kind of want to really drive that home, because when I'm thinking about that, how many things in our life are complicated enough as it is? There's enough things happening. We're entering the holiday season. You start thinking about travel. There's a lot of logistics. Who's coming into town? Am I leaving to go out of town? We're seeing family and friends and, parties and different stuff like there's a lot going on. And, the majority of life is like that. So whenever you're trying to think and figure out, I wonder what the best decision in this situation is going to be, the majority of the time it's going to be the simplest one. So this isn't just something that will apply to your finances. A lot of times this will apply to decision making. Great example is if, you get a cough and then all of a sudden you're thinking, oh my gosh, this could be lung cancer. Okay. Sure, maybe it is, but that would be a really complicated thing that requires lots of different testing and missing and all this other stuff. And is there any other reason for that? Or we could go with the simplest answer that's also the most likely, which is, maybe I just have a cold. So that a lot of times will prevent stress and anxiety that we are really just putting on ourselves. It will help us make decisions faster. And a lot of times it can help you make more money. We tend to just overcomplicate things in the world that we live in. And, there is the saying for a reason that less is more. That's kind of parallel to the entire Occam's Razor thing. So when it comes to that, if you are sitting there in this, particular season of life and you're like, man, I could really use some more money. Well, before you go out and, find other complicated ways to bring in more money, and I'm not saying that this can't be this is an or situation. This can be an and situation. You can do both, but you would be cheating yourself if you didn't look at the most simplest way to find more money, which is just to take an honest look at what you're spending, on every single month, where your money is going, and then just number one, negotiating it And number two, seeing if there's anything you can eliminate or substitute. I think people are just scared to take an honest look because they just don't want to know how bad things are. I think that's something that can apply to us in other areas of our life. Because there's really just, outside of that, there's not really a good reason just to take an hour or two and look and go, I wonder if I could get this cheaper. I wonder if I could do this, and shop around. Thanks to the internet, you can do this stuff incredibly fast. I think my friend said he did this on a slow afternoon at work. He just made a couple calls, did a couple online quotes, and boom, he was good. And I don't even think if I remember correctly, I don't even think he did his homeowner's insurance either. I think this was like automobile and a couple other things. And it was like $2,300 instant savings. I mean, you do that over 5 years and you work to keep that rate down. It's an extra 10 grand for making a couple phone calls in an afternoon. It's pretty good. So anyway, I just want to say that that is generally a good thing to keep in mind as you move forward in life, as you are looking to make more money, as you are looking to have more time available. Remember Occam's Razor, that usually, not always, it's not always the truth, but usually the simplest answer is going to be the best answer.